Okay, so you want to learn how to write rhymes for rap at an advanced level from the very beginning but don't know where to start. You've been listening your whole life to the greatest rappers of all time, love how they can bend and stretch words seemingly at will without hesitation, and you like to do it as well, but you don't quite know, in a step-by-step format, how to write rhymes for rap like a professional time and time again every time you have an instrumental in front of you. Well, as YouTube's most subscribed channel on learning how to rap in an easy to follow fashion, we're here to help and show once and for all how to write rhymes for rap, using quotes and examples from three of the GOAT level rappers of the 21st century, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Eminem. With that said, let's get into using the first secret you'll need to master to learn how to write rhymes for rap. Step number 1, the Kendrick Lamar start then stretch method.
Craziest thing about Wayne, I go all the way back to the Hot Boy days and being listening to this dude, just remembering the staple that he put on the game back then all the way to now, to have that longevity years beyond it. The longevity that he created is a great feeling. I could say I was influenced by a certain sound and a flow and the cadence that he brought to the game, which was very unique. Me being a young boy in the game and listening to him like, yo, okay, I need to learn this and that. That definitely was a perspective from that tape.
In this clip, we see Kendrick Lamar wear the influence of Southern rap living legend Lil Wayne on his sleeve, discussing exactly how he's been listening to Weezy and the perspective that was passed on to young King Kenny over time. However, one thing that hasn't been discussed enough exactly in learning how to write rhymes for rap is how exactly did Lil Wayne influence the rhyming style of Kendrick Lamar and how you can use that to improve your own rhymes. To explain this, let's first start with the first bars from Kendrick's legendary track, Backseat Freestyle. God damn, I feel amazing. Damn, I'm in the Matrix. My mind is living on cloud 9 and this 9 is never on vacation. Start up that Maserati and vroom vroom, I'm racing. Popping pills in the lobby and I pray they don't find her naked and I pray you niggas is hating. Okay, so the first thing you should do when studying bars like this to learn how to write rhymes for rap is isolate the rhymes and then find out what we can learn. So we have Matrix, vacation, racing, naked, hating. If you look at those words, they clearly don't rhyme perfectly, such as if racing and pacing were together, but they of course stretch, and depending on how the rapper says it, can feel like a nice clean rhyme, especially when mixed with the perfect beat and vocal time. Now, if we think about how Kendrick likely created this scheme, he probably started with the word matrix, which if you're thinking like a beginner amateur rapper, doesn't have many rhymes. I mean, sure, you can and often should split the rhyme into 2 syllables, such as rhyming Matrix with Game 6 and putting that with a line about Michael Jordan's Game 6 win in the 1998 NBA Finals. However, what Kendrick probably did was have that word matrix and not stress about having the perfect rhyme, but rather a stretched, almost lazy rhyme pattern in order to give him maximum creative freedom. That loose, almost lazy, not in a bad way, rhyming choice is likely heavily influenced by rappers like Lil Wayne, who consistently would stretch rhymes to their absolute endpoint in order to be able to pull off almost any hilarious or creative punchline he sees fit. An example of this would be Lil Wayne's beginning bars on Forever with Drake, Kanye, and Eminem, where he says, "Hello, it's the Martian, Space Jam Jordans, I want this forever, wake up and smell the garden, fresher than the harvest, step up to the target, if I had one guess, then I guess I'm just New Orleans." Again, check out the isolated rhymes and how loose and almost lazy the pattern is. Martian, Jordans, garden, harvest, target, Orleans. And yet when put together into a full package with storytelling through punchlines, whether in Wayne's case the smell the garden and fresher than the harvest play on natural horticulture, or it's the Cloud 9 and 9mm weapon wordplay from Kendrick, what we see here is the act of starting with a baseline rhyme like Matrix or Martian and then stretching your words out as much as possible in service of the wordplay rather than being super uptight about what is an acceptable comfortable rhyme. In short, letting the stretching of your rhymes service the story you're trying to tell in your punchlines is the way to go often. Now, if you're looking to instantly streamline your ability to rhyme almost any word an infinite amount of times without having to isolate every rhyme like we did there, or re-listen to a track every time you want to write, we have an advanced rhyme writing course called the Infinite Rhyme Maker, which you can pick up by clicking the first link in the video description box below. But often it's not simple as to start with one word like Matrix or Martian and then stretch a little bit to find a cool punchline. In the case of Eminem, arguably rap's most prolific rhyme writer, what he would do is often get a series of the best rhymes possible first and then create a story around it, which is what we'll discuss next in step number 2, the Eminem rhyme then write method.
There's a constant tug of war with me inside my head that how am I supposed to be? One of the things that's happened to me over the years is rapping gets harder, but rhyming gets easier, if that makes any sense. Rhyming gets easier because when I think of a couple phrases or whatever it is, I think of so much shit that rhymes with it, you know, and connecting the syllables and all, doing all that. But by the time it's all said and done, is this different than anything I've done?
Now, although there are a lot of videos on YouTube about how Eminem rhymes words, including many by us at How to Rap, or interviews with Eminem on how to write rhymes for rap, a lot of people have not broken down the science of how he does it. In order to explain this, let's look at the handwritten lyrics for part of Lose Yourself, arguably Eminem's most well-known song ever. What you'll see when you look at the lyrics is not some big, organized, line-by-line sequence of ideas, but rather a collage of random short, quick sentences of rhymes that eventually will come out as a fully fleshed idea. Look, for example, at the line, "Vomit on his sweater already, mom spaghetti," we know that ended up on the final version of the song in verse 1, but on the page it is also surrounded by random other words like plot and factor that really have no place. Similarly, we can see on the same page a couple rhymes, opposition, clock is ticking, plot just thickens, chicken, that don't end up in the final song. And there are literally hundreds of these rhyme collages available online of Eminem's lyrics that demonstrate this writing method, and thus we can confidently say that what Eminem is doing for his method on how to write rhymes for rap is come up with dope rhymes first and then fit it into a story. As a quick example to lock this in, the other day I was at the gym and I just randomly thought of the phrase physical prime, like I'm in my physical prime. Now, having rapped for over 20 years and coached rappers for nearly 10, I basically internalized what to do next, which is to think of a bunch of good rhymes to go with that phrase so that I might later on, like Eminem, create a rhyme scheme. In this case, you could have rhymes like physical prime, critical sign, lyrical lines, miserable time, and so on. However, of course, these rhymes by themselves don't mean anything, so the next step is to tell a story using the ideas you've already had with the rhymes, something like rappers having a miserable time with their lyrical lines while all my bars work out. I'm in my physical prime. Now that's a critical sign that they don't live for the grind, etc., etc. Now, notice what I did there. Much like Eminem or indeed Kendrick in step number 1, I took random rhymes and then I tell a story in the punchline, playing with the double entendre of my bars working out, as in gym bars, barbell, but also rap bars being successful, i.e. working out, and wrapping it up with the play on physical prime with the gym analogy. This is just a quick example, and again, we have many more of those in our Infinite Rhyme Maker course, but the main point is to consider using the Eminem strategy of creating rhymes first and then spending more time figuring out how to use those dope rhymes in a clever way. Once you have mastered the Kendrick method of stretching to tell a story, and then you've actually told a story using the rhymes like Eminem, you can additionally stack and sync them all together, much like J. Cole has done in step number 3, the J. Cole stack and sync method.
My cousin rapped like a No Limit, like Master P type rapper, so I was imitating him, so I was like, I'm a No Limit soldier. Like, it was terrible stuff I wasn't even doing, but then I started rapping about like how much better I was than people. At that time, Eminem was out, Big Pun, all these real lyrical rappers, like those were the guys I would imitate. But then I started telling stories more, and I started leaning more toward like a Nas or like a Tupac who I had already loved. but I fell more in love with like the way they told stories, and that's kind of how I evolved.
Much like Kendrick utilizing Lil Wayne's influence to mix and match styles to create something unique out of thin air, J. Cole's admitted influence by rappers as varied as Master P all the way to Eminem comes out in some of Cole's hardest underground tracks. Take, for example, the comparison of this scheme on Rise and Shine from Cole's first album. You out of shape, my mind run a mile a minute, the sky's the limit, I'm so high, I'm diving in it, my rides is tinted, my knobs getting slobbed up in it, she hollering God, man, you would've thought that God was in it. And then compare that to Eminem's scheme on the final track of the Marshall Mathers LP, Criminal. Windows tinted on my ride when I drive in it, so when I rob a bank, just run out and dive in it, so I'll be disguised in it, and if anybody identifies the guy in it, I hide for 5 minutes, come back, shoot the eyewitness, fire at the private eye, hired to pry in my business. In both cases, they are using what we'll call the J. Cole stack and sync method, where you get your rhyme scheme. In this case, both Em and Cole are using a dive in it 5 minutes type of rhyme pattern, and then spend most of your time stacking rhymes together to increase the complexity of the bar. Again, to return to our example in number 2 with the rhyme scheme Physical Prime, you could alternatively stack and stink the physical portion of the bars, creating a pattern such as, I'm gifted so I'm lifting each line, call that my physical prime, like I'm hitting the sky. You disfigured like a whip stick when it drives or a thick chick when she rides, etc, etc. Essentially what you've done here is take the physic part of physical and found other rhymes around it such as gifted and lifted, and then put them all together into a cohesive story for a punchline. This is an extremely common tactic for Eminem, although Cole has used it extensively throughout his work as well, and now that you know what it is, you can find times throughout his body of work that utilizes a similar structure. In short, we hope this lesson for how to write rhymes for rap has taught you how to not simply stop at the first time you think of a rhyme, but rather stretch, stack, and storytell throughout each bar if you want to go from simply someone who can spit a couple lines to actually being a professional level artist. And if that's your goal, we here at How to Rap believe you can master it. Now, I want to see you in the comments. What is your favorite 2-bar rhyme scheme from Kendrick, Eminem, or J. Cole? Throw it in the comments. We want to see what you think their hardest bars are, whichever one is your favorite. And if you're an artist yourself watching this, be sure to check the video description for that free bonus course. I've been your host, Lamar, the big homie Drew for How to Rap. I'm out.